Assignment 2.1, discussion of chapters 22 through 33 of Where the Crawdads Sing. And hey everyone, this is our first discussion for Module 2. In this part of Where the Crawdads Sing, we really start to see how Kaya is shaped by the community around her, especially how she's judged, excluded, or underestimated. This week, we're going to explore those moments of injustice in the novel and start thinking about how they connect to the world we live in today. As always, don't stress about having the perfect answer. Just bring your insight, your voice, and your curiosity. Let's dive in. Here is a brief summary of chapters 22 through 33. Kaya's relationship with Tate and Chase. Tate returns to the marsh after years away, hoping to reconnect with Kaya. Though she's still hurt by his earlier abandonment, Kaya begins to tentatively trust him again. This shows her emotional growth, but also her lingering vulnerability. On the other hand, Kaya's relationship with Chase becomes increasingly complex. Chase initially seems charming, but his actions reveal manipulation and deceit. For example, when Kaya realizes Chase is engaged to someone else, she confronts a painful betrayal. As Kaya navigates these relationships, we see her growing awareness of trust and self-protection. The role of the marsh. The marsh continues to be central to Kaya's identity. It's more than a setting, it's a character in its own right. The marsh offers her comfort, as seen when she immerses herself in nature to escape the pain caused by others. For example, Owens writes, "She knew the marsh was in her genes as much as the breath she took." However, the marsh also reflects Kaya's struggles. Its isolation mirrors her loneliness, reminding us of how deeply connected she is to her environment. Societal judgment and isolation. The townspeople's continued rejection of Kaya reinforces her status as an outsider. They label her the marsh girl, reducing her to a stereotype. But despite this, Kaya remains resilient. As Owens writes, she had lived long enough alone to know she could only depend on herself. Her ability to persevere highlights her inner strength and independence. Now that we've briefly reviewed these chapters, let's talk about your assignment. Step 1 is simple. Make sure you've carefully read chapters 22 through 33. Pay attention to how Kaya's relationships, her connection to the marsh, and the townspeople's judgment shape her story. In this section of the novel, we begin to see how injustice, prejudice, and exclusion shape Kaya's life and her place in the community. For this prompt or assignment, choose a specific moment from these chapters that reflect a form of injustice, exclusion, or unequal treatment. Think about social, legal, environmental, or other types or places where this may occur. What power structures or social biases are at work in this moment? How does Kaya respond, and what does her response reveal about her values or sense of survival? As an extension to this assignment, can you think of a current issue, either local, national, or global, that echoes this moment? Briefly describe, and make sure that you use at least 2 passages from the text. In this section of the novel, we begin to see how injustice, prejudice, and exclusion shape Kaya's life. And in the final step, you'll engage with your classmates by responding to 2 of their posts in about 100 words each. Share your thoughts on their insights or offer additional examples from the text. Remember, this is a chance to deepen the discussion and connect to different perspectives. Don't forget to use MLA format when quoting the text. Here's an example. The quote that I selected is, "A simple hope of being with someone, of actually being wanted, of being touched had drawn her in. But these hurried, groping hands were only a taking, not a sharing or a giving." This comes from Owens, or Where the Crawdads Sing, page 162. Notice I start with the signal phrase, where I can say the author's name or a character's name. So Kaya reflected that, and then I give the quote. Since I did not introduce the author in the signal phrase, I will put it in parentheses after the quote with the page number. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped you think about Kaya's story in new ways and maybe even reflect on some of the issues we see in our own communities today. Remember to follow the post and reply guidelines and just be real in your response. I'm not looking for formal essays or responses here. just thoughtful connections and honest reflections. I look forward to reading what you all have come up with.